What does the deal mean in your mind?
Well, if I'm James Harden, I'm waking up today saying, get me the hell out of here. Get me out. I need to go either to Philly. I need to go to Brooklyn. I need to get out of here because this is not what I signed up for. And I don't know if this makes me happy to be here in Houston long term. If I wake up and I'm Bradley Beal on the East Coast in D.C., I'm saying, oh, I think we have a chance to be top 5 in the East right now. Getting Brody to come here to D.C., getting Davis Bertans to sign a 5-year, $80 million deal. This puts us almost in the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference. So, look, I now look at Houston and I say, John Wall, I hope he comes back and has an incredible year. Hasn't played since 2018, okay? He's injury prone coming off that injury. You have DeMarcus Cousins, injury prone coming off an injury. Now, that's an interesting team. If I'm Houston, if I'm Raphael Stone, how much longer can you hold on to James Harden without him publicly becoming a disgruntled employee? So if he's at a post presser every single day, when you know he's going to be asked this question over and over and over again, are you happy here? Eventually, Harden's going to tell you how he feels. Do you lose trade value the longer you hold on to him? Or now are you starting to look at the Brooklyn situation and say, hey, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, some future first-round picks. Maybe that is enough for a guy like James Harden, because I feel like James Harden has given his heart and soul to Houston. James Harden deserves to have a shot at winning a world championship, and that will not occur in Houston. He has a better chance of doing that with Brooklyn or Philadelphia. Do the right thing for James Harden.
Do the right thing for James. Do the right thing for James. I look at it and say, you know what? This is kind of like for Westbrook going east and Wall going to Houston, they kind of just swapped contracts and players of that style to me. I mean, you get a healthy guy versus a guy that you really don't know a whole lot about unless they've had some private workouts of some sort on video where they've had an opportunity to see him bounce and run around where they can say, okay, I think we're getting a 2018 John Wall pre-injury, so we're okay with that. Boogie Cousins, on the other hand, we know what that, not only from an injury standpoint, but also from an in-shape standpoint, what that's going to look like. And in terms of James Harden, and I've always said this, and I will continue to say it until I die, professional athletes, the moment that they tell organizations that they don't want to be there, the organization will try the best to move them. It just because you don't want to have a hostile situation inside of a locker room, especially with a young new head coach coming in to try to manage the situation. I don't care what he's done in his past previous stops with certain athletes and personalities, but to have a new head coach come in and you have a disgruntled player, I don't want to call it disgruntled, a player that's just not really feeling what's going on because he's watching potentially what the Brooklyn Nets could be doing in James Harden or potentially what Philadelphia could be doing. And he's sitting back there saying, I could be a part of that, but you're holding me hostage when I don't want to be here. I think Raphael Stone will get around to figuring out how to move James Harden. You got to go one piece at a time. It's too much to try to, to digest when you have to deal with Westbrook, which was probably the easier deal to get done, and you got Harden, both of them on the same table, and you trying to navigate through that. That's a lot. So you want to get one off the table. Now we could turn our attentions to James Harden and potentially a Philadelphia deal or potentially a Brooklyn Nets deal. You revisit that now and see where it goes.
Let me tell you this. Right now with John Wall, because of the injury, he slipped and fell at his home. He had a ruptured Achilles. I thought Dustin Johnson was the only guy that could use that as an excuse if you're a golf fan out there. But 3 years, $132 million. You don't exactly know what you're getting. You know Russ obviously is a huge deal that's worth more than $130 million left on his deal as well. But we know what we've gotten from Russell Westbrook. At this point, 3 years, $132. We don't know what we're going to get from Wall. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just know somebody else who slipped and fell and then was out of work for 2 days.
You almost got cussed out. Man,
what? He just, you slipped and fell at the house. You rolled your ankle. You're out for 2 days. That's all I'm saying.
DJ slipped and fell at Augusta. Key slipped and fell in Brooklyn. And John Wall did so in and around the district.
Because you're trying to sell a narrative to the people that's listening and looking as if I'm clumsy and non-athletic.
No, you're extremely athletic.
And I'm not going to have you doing that
Your
to
dog
me.
came underneath you and you didn't see him early in the morning. I'm just saying, it happens. It's feasible. That's all.
No doubt. We're always having fun. So just quickly to go back, you don't know what you're going to get from Wall, as I mentioned, the 700 days, 3 years, 132. But let me ask you it from this particular standpoint, Jay, from an NBA perspective. The Wizards, this wasn't really talked about much because they haven't been talked about much. They were in the bubble. They played 8 games. They lost 7 of the 8 games. It basically took them to their final game in the bubble till they won one. They've been off the national radar for years. The furthest they made it with Wall was the Eastern Conference semifinals. I'm not pinning that on Wall. I'm just saying that this is a team that there's a shot of adrenaline that needs to come into this team's arm. And
they just got it.
With somebody as exciting as Westbrook, playing at 100 miles an hour like Westbrook, the entertainment factor. I just think there's something there here for Washington, even though everybody's talking about what it means for Houston, the residual for Harden. For Washington, they need to be relevant, and this gives them some relevancy.
And first off, to all the haters out there, Key, everybody with all these different narratives, you were talking about narratives before. Well, Brody isn't a guy that helps the culture of your team. That's wrong. Brody does help the culture of your team. Let's talk about what happened to him. He started off slow this year, okay? Then he came on hot. Then he got COVID, missed some time in the bubble, came into the bubble, did decently to come in, and then had an injury to his hamstring. I want you to hear the numbers that he finished the regular season with, averaging 27, 8 rebounds per game, 7 assists, all NBA third team. Now you pair him with a guy like Bradley Beal, that is one of the most prolific scorers we have in the game. Davis Bertans, another guy that shot 43% from the three-point line. The style and pace in which they're going to play in D.C., Eastern Conference is wide open. I mean, look, the Nets are probably the favorite. You have Milwaukee who's there. You have the Celtics who are there. You have the Miami Heat. Even though I think last year was a little bit of an anomaly, I don't think the Miami Heat go to the World Championship if it's not in the bubble. They didn't do a lot in free agency. I still like their team, but the Hawks made some moves. Big respect to Danilo Gallinari. He comes to the Hawks. They have the pieces, John. The council there. Trae Young is still there. Rondo's there now. But I think this team could finish top 5 in the East.
No question. And that's proof the Wizards won the trade. As Jay says, it's totally wide open now in the East. Proof is brought to you by Pennzoil. Pennzoil synthetic motor oils are made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof's in the Pennzoil, based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W30. Last couple notes, the NBA season, the regular season begins December 22nd. So both of these teams have less than 3 weeks to try to integrate these 2 new pieces into their lineup. And for the casual NBA fan, Jay mentioned it, for the casual fan that doesn't know